Hello and thank you for joining me today. My name is Sasha Reade and today I've got another fun tutorial. I hope it's one that you're going to really enjoy and learn some new techniques. We've got these two cards that we're going to make, a more clean and simple version and a more distressed kind of rugged version. I love both cards, but I'm going to share with you how to make them. So to get started, I've got this Crafter's Companion pack. It's got 36 sheets of cardstock and it's got gradient colors, and I absolutely love it. This is the cool tones version. One side has got sort of a texture and the other side is smooth. For this card we're going to use the smooth side of the cardstock. Now the other exciting feature of this cardstock is that it has got a white core. So normally I would think that that is quite a cheap card when it's sort of printed on the color, not all the way through. But for this technique, well, for these cards, it's a really awesome thing to have. So I've just cut them to 3/4 of an inch by 5 inches wide. I got these brushes from Amazon. I recently ordered them. They are my new blending brushes to try out. At first there were little bits of hair kind of coming off of them. This is the first time I'm using them. But once I gave them a firm rub, they looked absolutely fine. Now we've got Chipped Sapphire and Salty Ocean that I'm going to use to sort of add some ombre coloring to these panels. My idea was that I wanted a gradual color going from top to bottom as well as going from left to right. So I'm just adding the Chipped Sapphire onto the darker colors and trying to get sort of a gradient effect. To clean my brush, I just use a microfiber cloth, a dry microfiber cloth, and I just rub it on. If I want to clean it properly and get all the ink out, like if I'm going to use a really light color next, then I would probably use a damp microfiber cloth and give it quite a lot longer of a rub, if that makes sense. So I'm just coming in with the lighter one and made an oopsie and used the darker one instead by mistake. So I'm just going to cover that up with the other one. And because it's not sheen, but it's quite a smooth surface, so you can wipe it off a little bit. And then I did heat set it because it was still a bit damp. Once I heat set it, I realized that it wasn't dark enough. So I'm coming in now with that Chipped Sapphire on all of them. And I'm going to come in on the darkest one with a bit of black. So I didn't feel like it was dark enough, so I'm just adding a little bit of black to that to just kind of show that sort of gradual effect of color. Now I'm just measuring them all to work out how wide my card base needs to be. So I've just measured it and added on an extra 1/4 of an inch on all sides essentially, although I did end up with a little bit too long on that right hand side, so I do trim it off in a minute. Now to get my positioning of my strips nice and even, I'm using my T-ruler. A T-ruler is a really practical thing to have in your crafting office, and they are very cheap. They're only normally maybe £2 to buy. They're not expensive at all. And what I'm doing is I'm using some low-tack post-it note tape just to hold my ruler in place, because I am so good at bumping it and wiggling it when I'm doing it, something like this where I need to line up all my panels nice and even. I'll tend to end up knocking it and then I can't get it straight again. So I've taped my card in place, I've taped my ruler in place, and then that way I know that my panels are going in place. So all I'm doing is adding some liquid glue on the backs of them and lining them right up next to that ruler so that they're nice and straight and even. I've cut them all the exact same size, so they'll be all nice and even on the top and bottom. And then I'm just kind of pushing them up nice and tight to each other, which is why I'm using the liquid glue. It gives me that chance to give that extra little bit of wiggle room and be able to tuck them nice and tight next to each other. So this is a really handy thing to have, one of these rulers, just to line them up. You'll see me use it again later on in the video for my next card. So once that's all done, I can then peel off all my tape and move on to my next card. So I'm putting this one aside just to dry. Oh, sorry, I do trim it down first. But I stick it aside just to dry and do my next panel, and then we're going to come back and decorate that in a minute. So this is the other one. This is the warm tones. The last one was the cool tones. They also have greens and neutrals. So for this one, we're going to use the textured side of the card, and I've just pulled out all the pinks from this. So in this pack you get pinks and reds, and the other one was blues and purples. So now these ones I'm going to cut to 1 inch by 5 inches. So they're going to be slightly wider panels. or sorry, it wasn't 5 inches, it was just below 6 inches because I wanted to have a 6x6 roughly card when I was finished. So now I'm going to cut my piece of paper. I know I've got 6 of those rectangles, so I know it's going to be 6 inches. And then I did it just below 6 inches wide. So I'm doing this little piece of copy paper, the exact size that all my panels would be when I've lined them all up. So I'm just doing the exact same thing as before, but I've not inked these ones up. I'm just butting them up right next to each other. But because I've got that piece of paper, with a copy paper, I don't have to worry about using my T-ruler to line these ones up. I can just kind of stick them down and I know that they're all going to be the same height. So once that's done, I've got these embossing folders here from Made to Surprise, and I'm going to use the dragonfly one to emboss into my panel. So what I should have probably done is waited till my glue fully dried because the cardstock was a little bit damp. So you do end up seeing that my my cardstock ends up kind of warping a little bit from the embossing powder, but it doesn't matter because we're going to distress it next. So I've come in with this sanding block. This is just from a DIY shop. It was about £1. It's just a sandpaper block. Now this one works, it does the trick, but it was a bit annoying because the sandpaper was also coming off while I was rubbing it, so I was getting a nice gritty mess all over my desk, which didn't feel so nice, but it did the trick. So all I'm doing is I'm holding it flat onto my cardstock, and I'm just rubbing, and all those dragonflies are popped up from running it through the embossing folder, and so the sandpaper is just catching those dragonflies and it's rubbing it off. Now because this cardstock has got a white core, we're getting this cool effect. So you need to make sure that the center of your cardstock, when you cut into it, you can see white. If you can see white in your cardstock, you can do this fun technique with your cardstock, because all I'm doing is removing that top layer of color, and we're getting these gorgeous little dragonflies popping through. So I've gone ahead and measured it and cut my card base so that is about 1/8 of an inch wider on all sides to put my card on top of. And now I wanted my edges to kind of stand out a bit or kind of blend in. I never know what the right words are for this, but I thought I would try and use my white ink pad and ink all the edges in white to kind of tie it into the card base. So I go through this process of using my Hero Arts Unicorn white ink and ink up all the edges, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. So I left it to dry for quite a while because it's a pigment ink, and I thought that's not right. So I decided I would distress the edges, given I distressed the dragonflies. Now you can either do this with a pair of scissors or with one of these tools here. This is a distressing tool. It's just basically got a blade in it and you can just rub it along the edges. And I started doing that and I got really stuck on that one edge because it was starting to lift my panels. It was catching on the edges of every single panel, so I was having to do each panel individually and I wasn't getting it as rough as I wanted it to look. So I scrapped that idea, trimmed off those edges, and went back to the drawing board to work out what I would do next. So in the end, I decided to have a bit more fun, be a bit more creative, and I got out my gouache paints. Now this is the titanium white in the gouache paint, and I'm just putting the tiniest dot down and spraying it once or twice with a bit of water. And all I'm going to do is flick it all over my cardstock. So it got it nice and juicy, and I'm just blobbing it on. And that kind of gave me the result I wanted. So I left it to dry and it looks like this, and I love that effect. So you just need to keep trying and trying again. If you have an idea in your head and a vision of how you want it to work and look, just keep going. And if you have to trim your card and make it a bit smaller, then you trim your card, you make it a bit smaller. If you mucked up, you keep rolling with it and keep trying, because once you get to this point, it kind of sucks if you were to think about tossing your card. So now I've just added the adhesive, and I'm doing Natasha Foote's little trick, and I'm peeling back one of each corner so I can line it up before I stick it down permanently and get it nice and central, because I've got just a small border on all the sides of this card. So I'm just lining it up, and then I'll give it a firm press and pull out those tabs, and then I know I've got it central on my card. And I just love how those white splatters really tie it into the card base. So I'm coming in now with the same set, the same collection, but the alphabet dies, and I'm going to spell out happy. Now, there's also this set here, which is for the edges of this fun landscape pop-up kind of card, and I'm going to use the dragonflies from this. If you watch one of my recent videos, you'll see a card that I made using this collection. I'm just using the accessories that you can buy separately or as a bundle to create these cards. Now, this is where I'm getting my fun, cool foil card from. My daughter got this for her birthday, and she didn't want the packaging, so I saved it. It's just from an LOL packaging, and I mean, they're silly expensive. They're like £9 or £10 for these silly dolls. And I saved the packaging because it was so nice, and I used it to die cut out my dragonflies. So it's worth holding on to things, having a look at what your packaging is like, and hold on to it, because this stuff is nice. It is ridiculously thick and really gorgeous. Now I've gone and die cut out happy 3 times on a white cardstock for each letter, and I've just glued them together to give them a stacked effect. I've got this stamp set here, and it says it's your birthday. This is from the same collection. I will link everything down below for you, so if you want to take a look, you can have a look and see what else there is in the collection, and just have a look at them. I'm just cutting my stamp in half. Now, I know some people might find that a bit scary, but it means that you can get more out of your collection. You can stretch your supplies further and make them work for you. I've just pulled out these bauble dies that I used in a previous video because they've got some really cute little banners in them. So have a look through your stash, see what you've got. I had these banners and I didn't know which one I wanted to use, so I thought I'm just going to get all of them out and we're going to try them all. So I've gone and die cut some more of that really fun pink shiny cardstock. It is pink, it does look a bit blue, but it is very iridescent, or not iridescent, very holographic pink. So I'm just creating all these banners and having to play and see what I would like. Now this one's got a flat end on one end, so I've decided that I would pop it on there and have a little bit showing out the flag sort of end. And on the next one, if you want to stretch your dies and make it look like you've got multiple dies, you can just take your one die, cut it in half, and then make it pop out on each end so it extends a little bit on each end. Sorry if my words aren't coming out very well. I'm in a bit of a rush. I'm trying to do a voiceover while my husband's dropping the kids at school before he gets back and needs his computer. But I have bought a new computer. So thank you so much to every one of you, because I have managed to save enough money through my YouTube to buy a new computer. Mine broke at Easter, and I was really upset, and I've had to share my husband's computer to do video editing. So I've had to wait for evenings and weekends to be able to do it, and it's been so difficult. We do have another computer, but it's really rubbish, so it's fine for surfing the web and Facebook and online shopping, but it is not good for video editing. So thank you to every one of you, because you have made this possible. I've got a brand new computer ordered and on the way. I've gone for a new MacBook. I really, really enjoy the software it comes with. I really like how they work. They're fast and quick and easy, but it's all thanks to you. Every time you've watched a video and those adverts have played, I've got paid for that, and that has been amazing, and I'm very, very grateful. I also have my affiliate links, which don't cost you anything more, but every time you use them and purchase something, I get a little bit of pay from that, and it has meant that I can afford to buy a new computer, and it means that we're going to be able to pay more bills, which means we might be able to get a new house soon and get a bigger place, which would be amazing as well. So huge thank you. Sorry for that rant. I think it's been pretty self-explanatory what's been going on here. I've just glued down my happy birthday. You've seen me do the same trick there with my ruler, where I've taped down my ruler so I don't go wonky. I popped up my sentiment on some foam. Now with this dragonfly here, I wanted to pop it up on foam, but only pop up 3 of the wings. So I'm holding it and pinching it on the one wing that I need to remember to put glue on, because I'm notorious for twisting it around in my hand and then forgetting which wing I needed to keep dry so that I could use the liquid glue on it. So that's why I'm looking a bit awkward here and struggling a bit with my fingers, because I'm trying not to let go of that one wing, so I make sure I don't put foam tape on there. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off those release sheets, and then I can go ahead and put some liquid glue on that one wing, and then that way that one wing is going to rest on the Y, which is already popped up because we've given it dimension by adding 3 layers. And then the other ones will just sit nice and popped up as well because we've got the foam behind them. So in my glue bottle, I've got the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish. It's a very, very strong liquid glue. And this cardstock from my daughter's packaging has got a bit of a shine on the back of it. So this is really good to use on that because it will mean that it will stick nice and tight. And I'm just tucking those dragonflies in and around my happy birthday. And now I'm coming in with some glossy accents. So I've got glossy accents in this little bottle with my fine tip nozzle on it. And glossy accents is brilliant for getting that dimension and shine, and I love the end result. So when you put it on, it goes on a bit kind of foggy, not super crystal clear, but when it dries, oh my goodness, it looks like you've put on like plastic embellishments in a sense, like really classy plastic embellishments, and I love the result of it. You do have to wait 24 hours for it to dry, before you can think about posting it or giving it to anyone. Otherwise, you're going to end up with it getting all smushed everywhere. But that's what I've done there. I've added on those glossy accents. Now, I've got these little flat back. I'll put the words on the screen. I can't ever remember what they're called. I'll link them down below as well. I picked them all up from AliExpress. I've got absolutely tons of them, and they've been lasting me quite a while because I switch between these and Nuvo drops when I want to add on some kind of blobbies, if that makes sense. So I'm just adding them on as random as I can. I always struggle with this bit. I'm not very good at random. And I've stuck my finger in the Y, so I was just double checking I didn't damage it or smudge it too much. And that's my finished card, and I love it. I'm so happy. You know, sometimes when you make a card and it just fills you with joy, that was that one. So now we're coming in to decorate the blue card, and I'm using the same alphabet set again from May to Surprise. And this time I'm going to pull out the letters for hello. And my cardstock, my black cardstock, is really, really thick. I think it's nearly 400 GSM. So very, very, very thick black. So I'm only doing 2 layers. And the idea again was that I was going to add on the glossy accents. So that was going to layer it up again another time. So I've just done the 2 layers. I do like layering up my letters. I feel like it adds so much more character to your card when you've got more dimension on it. So I'm sticking them all together in the same way that I did before, using my liquid glue and just sticking them all together. And it is absolutely fantastic, the result that you get. I love having black as kind of like your base. It just really, I don't know, there's something really nice about it. Here's my same trick. I've glued down my ruler, or glued it down, and no, I taped it down. I didn't glue it down. I've taped down my ruler so I can make sure these letters go on straight because I am so good at doing them wonky. And for whatever reason, when I do things like this, I feel like I've got 16 thumbs and they're all, you know, giant thumbs. And I just struggle with getting them down straight. I normally drop them and flop them like that. I'm like, I've gone crooked. Pokey tool, very helpful with straightening things out. On this card, I decided I wanted to stamp my sentiment underneath the hello and stamp it across all those layers. So I'm using my Tim Holtz stamping platform to do that so I can stamp it multiple times because of the ridges from my layers of cardstock. Sometimes it doesn't stamp very clear, so it's really helpful to use a stamp platform if you want to stamp on top of something that is a bit more dimensional. When I was looking at the card, I felt like I wanted to kind of cover up those edges so they looked a bit more smooth. And I had these scrap bits of black lying on my desk, left over from cutting up cardstock, and I thought these will be perfect. I'm going to put one on the top and the bottom to kind of give it that nice continuity. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm never very good. I'm using my Tim Holtz mini paper trimmer just to chop those down. And I'm just going to take my Nuvo liquid glue. This is back in stock on Tonic's website, by the way. It has been out of stock for almost 2 years. I have just ordered 4 bottles of it. I'm so excited. And also, I'm sure other websites will start to carry them soon as well, because now that they're back in stock with Tonic, they're probably going to be back in stock everywhere else. They've been in stock the whole time with Tonic in the States, but not in the UK. So I've got this paper here. This is a leftover scrap bit. It's got sticky back adhesive on the back of it already. This is the Tonic textured luxury card. And I love it because when you cut it, you die cut it, whatever you do to it, it doesn't lose that texture. So I love it. I've just cut really fine strips of it. And I'm going to layer it on the inside of that black to give it a bit more definition to those black lines that I added. And all I'm doing is lining it up, bending it, and then cutting it where my bend is so that I can get it the exact right size. so that it's only on that panel. Now when I'm looking at it here, I still feel like it's not quite enough, and I realize actually if I add slightly thicker line to the top and bottom, that looks quite nice. So all I'm doing is outlining that black bit of cardstock that we just added onto the card. And I feel like that kind of just makes it pop. It gives it this really nice finish. So I love how this turned out. Some of these things are just happy accidents. I just look around my desk and I think, what could I put on there? And I'm going to again create my cardstock from measuring my card. I'm going to create my card base to fit the card. I love doing it that way rather than trying to make a card that fits the card base that I've got. Now this is for Natasha Foot. Have a look. I've used my glue sparingly. She's commented on a couple of my videos about how crazy I go with my glue. So I thought I'd do a little freeze frame for her to show her my glue. Now I'm coming in with my glossy accents again, and I am going to add in onto the hello and make it pop out again. So you can see that shine now. In the pictures, you can see it so well. I'll put the pictures again at the end of the video so you can see them and have a better look at them now that you've seen the process of what I've gone through to make them. And I absolutely love the effect of the glossy accents, and it works really well for masculine and feminine cards. So here's my big box of joy, and I'm just pulling out some more that I thought would coordinate with those colors. And I'm just having a look through, and I end up going with the matted ones on this one rather than the shiny ones because I've got the shiny in the hello, so I felt like the matte dots would look really nice with it. And again, I'm just trying to be as random as I can, but I am a bit rubbish at being random with these things. But this finishes off my card, and I am so happy with this card as well. I feel like this is a lot more of like a clean cut card, but it looks lovely. So I'm so grateful for you joining me today. And I hope to see you in the next video. Please do like and subscribe. Drop me a comment. I will do my best to reply to every single comment. Thank you so much for being here. Take care. Bye.